Hello everyone, I'm Dawn. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for visiting with me today. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel, The Cutting Board. We do all kinds of things here. We do true crime content, we talk trash, we do DIYs, SFX makeup, hauls, vlogs, food content, and most importantly, at least to me, Disney content. So I have a lot of interests and I want to share them with you. So I got new hair. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like it just, I don't know. I don't know if I love it. But I mean, I like the idea of it. So we'll just go with it for right now. So I don't want anyone to feel like I don't sympathize with victims or believe victims when they make claims of SA. You know, inappropriate touching, misconduct, anything in that arena, because I do. I do believe that the system is definitely flawed, and I don't think that anyone can argue with that. You know, it's definitely flawed. You can't argue with it, really, because most times everything is he said, she said. I hate for victims, true victims, actual victims of these things that have gone through stuff to not be believed and and feel like they can't come forward. I saw Josh Johnson one time. He was talking about the bear or a man scenario and how men were getting so upset about it, and why would you want to be with a bear in the woods and not a man? And one woman had said something like, if a bear attacked me, people would believe me. And I understand that. I get that. You know, women aren't believed when they're attacked by a man. But if it's attacked by something else, or they have a car accident, you know, it wasn't, are you sure you didn't want to get hit by that car, you know? And so it makes women feel like they can't come forward. So, and I feel for victims. But I think we have to understand that so many people make false accusations that we have to be so very careful, and it makes it very difficult to, I don't know, choose a side, I guess. I'm not someone that, you know, I don't side with Candace Owens. I actually do agree with a lot of things she says. Frequently, I do agree with her, but I do think she is very anti-woman, okay? I know she says she's anti-feminist. I think she's just anti-woman. I think she hates women. You don't have to be a feminist to be a strong woman. And I feel like she is, you know, just the ultimate pick-me girl, okay? If Candace Owens wants us women to make our men sandwiches, then she can bring her happy little ass over to all our houses and make them the sandwiches her own damn self. That's how I feel about it. But I'm going off on a tangent. But I do agree with her when she says that so many men are falsely accused. That is factual. But she's not concerned about so many women that don't come forward because they're afraid they'll be accused of lying. So that's an issue too. And we're going to discuss this at length in another video. It's so easy to accuse men of these heinous actions. It really is. But a lot of times they are guilty. And as far as the Harvey Weinstein case, I believe she's representing him now, and that's why I'm bringing this up. I have very mixed feelings about that situation and the whole Me Too movement. I think a lot of people are not just women, because a lot of people are using the Me Too movement as a bit of a crutch, or even a way to get their face out on social media. But, so with all that being said, I want to talk about the Gary Busey situation. So yeah, so we're going to talk about the allegations against Gary Busey, which is kind of a bummer. I always liked him as an actor. I know he's going loopy, but I have always liked him as an actor. I I'm someone who has been to many fan cons, and the incident happened at a fan convention. Fan conventions, they are full of debauchery. They really are, in my opinion, especially the horror related cons, which I believe is the type of con he was at when this so-called bad actions, when they took place. Yeah, it was Monster Mania Con. So yeah, that was a horror convention. These types of conventions are just debauchery. They really are. Debauchery everywhere. You see a lot of families and kids there, but in my opinion, just based on what I've seen at all the conventions I've been to, except for MegaCon, they are not for children. Mostly, I would say the after-hour events are where it gets really wackadoo, but they're crazy. Good memories, but I don't think that I could keep up with the convention lifestyle. I really don't. I love conventions, but whew. Granted, it's not really the celebrity guests that are getting involved in all the naughtiness. Generally, I just spit, I'm sorry. It's the convention attendees. But I have seen a couple celebrities. I'm not naming names, but one of them was in the Lost Boys, and it wasn't Kiefer Sutherland. But I've seen celebrities who have gotten in on the fun. And I've seen a few who have even taken people back to their rooms with them. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but one could guess, But conventions always have a host hotel. Like the one we do every year in the late fall is always at the Hyatt Regency. Very nice hotel, but it is debauched that time of year. But these convention hotels at the time of the convention, they're probably more party centric than a Fort Lauderdale beachside hotel during spring break. And these aren't 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. These are like usually older people, 30 and up. Not that 30 years old is old. I'm just saying people 30 and older are usually past that stage, I think, But not when it comes to these conventions. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm telling you, it is debauchery. I know I've used that word a lot, but I mean, it is debauched. Although we couldn't get Kiefer Sutherland on any of the stuff. Oh, Kiefer, remember when you got drunk and jumped into that Christmas tree? Give us a little of that. Just a little, not a lot, just a little. But really, give me a lot. Now, Eric and I, we don't party at these things. We observe, and we've seen things. We have seen some things. Some things that some I didn't mind. And some things I never want to see again. And some things that just live in my mind, I just keep seeing them over and over and over again, no matter how much I try to get it out of my head. They are interesting events if you know what direction to look in. So, when I first heard that there were allegations made against Gary Busey, I thought that seems like something that would happen. And then I found out that it happened at a fan convention. And I thought, well, of course, it's grab ass central there. I mean, if something like that's going to happen, out in public where there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people, just walking around willy-nilly, it's going to happen. That's where it's going to happen, at a fan convention. No, that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it acceptable. it's still assault, but I'm just saying it happens. It happens at these places quite a lot. Again, not necessarily the celebrities doing it, but they're all testing their boundaries. They really are. So Gary Busey is accused of inappropriately touching at least 3 women at Monster Mania Con in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. The alleged actions took place August 12th to the 14th at the Doubletree Hotel. Now, I don't know if they were spread or if that was just when the event was, but Gary Busey is now 80. He was 78 at the time the alleged offenses. Now, he was charged with 2 counts of 4th-degree criminal sexual contact, 1 count of attempted criminal sexual contact, and 1 count of harassment. He was scheduled for all 3 days of the convention. And a lot of these conventions, they start on Friday and then run through the whole weekend to about 5, 6 o'clock on Sunday. According to court documents, 3 victims came forward, including 2 women who called the police from the event. So they called the police right then and there when it happened. And the victims reported that they were in a photo shoot area taking pictures with Gary. So, when the misconduct happened. Okay, so if this was in the photo shoot area, that probably means that they paid for a photo opportunity, which means it would just be mainly the photographer, the celebrity, and whoever is getting their picture taken, and maybe a handler. And there are usually no other people allowed in the area because they're just trying to get people through there. So that pretty much answers the question I had about witnesses, because I was wondering about witnesses because these conventions are so crowded. A lot of times at these conventions, celebrities will have a photo opportunity where you get your picture taken professionally, where it's just you, the celebrity, and the photographer. But oftentimes, celebrities will also allow you to take selfies with your camera or your phone at their table for a fee. So I was just wondering, if it was a selfie done at their table, there would have been a lot of witnesses. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, that answers my question about that. If it was done in a back room, then that's a whole other can of worms. One of the women told the police that he put his face near her breasts and asked her where she got them, before attempting to unlatch her bra strap. So I don't know how that, ew. The second victim alleged that he grabbed her behind while taking a photo. And a third claim against him came from the father of a victim. So I wonder if she was underage. He alleges that Busey grabbed his daughter's backside. So God, I want to know if she's underage. So while taking the photo, in the photo opportunity, right in front of her dad. When police made contact with Busey about the allegations, he initially denied groping the women. Then he asked if he could apologize to the victims, which is kind of admitting guilt, right? And he also asked the police to attempt to talk the victims out of pursuing things. The police also alleged that Busey tried to explain to the police that the unwanted touching may have been accidental. But of course, making a comment about a woman's breast, that wasn't accidental. Oh, I accidentally made a comment about her breast. That's all. It was an accident. Mania also encouraged the attendees to contact the police to file a report, and they have said, and this was in 2022, that they'll continue to assist the authorities in any and every way possible. And yes, I did go through their Facebook and I found that post, and I'll insert it here if you want to pause and read it. So you will have to pause that because I'm just going to zip right past it, or well, you realize I zipped right past it. On December 4th, 1988, Gary Busey was severely injured in a motorcycle accident, and he was not wearing a helmet. His skull was fractured, and he suffered from permanent brain damage. And he had to get 150 stitches on his head. He had to relearn how to talk, walk, eat, and dress himself. And he's admitted to having ongoing challenges such as memory problems and emotional issues. But that could also be because of his cocaine addiction. He also underwent surgery in 1997 to remove a cancerous tumor from his sinus cavity. And I wonder if that could have been because of his cocaine addiction also. I don't know. But during the second season of Celebrity Rehab back in 2008, he was referred to a psychiatrist, Dr. Charles Sophie. Sophie suspected that Gary Busey's brain injury had a much greater effect on his life than was originally realized. And at the time of the diagnosed permanent brain damage in 1988, it was not known or even suggested that the damage could be degenerative. Some forms of permanent brain damage can be associated with degenerative disease. But not all permanent brain damage is degenerative. But some can cause, what was I going to say? Can cause degenerative disease. But research is still being done because even today there is a lot to learn about traumatic brain injury, or TBI, and permanent brain damage. Degenerative brain damage or neurodegenerative diseases they're chronic conditions that can damage and destroy parts of the nervous system, especially the brain, like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Huntington's. Those conditions are often characterized by a slow, progressive decline in brain function. While there's no cure, treatment can help manage symptoms and slow the progression. Neurodegenerative disease can be caused by traumatic brain injury, especially moderate to severe injuries. It can increase the risk of the development of degenerative diseases. I just said that. Like dementia and Parkinson's, and also chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Individuals with a history of TBI or permanent brain damage, I guess I don't need to say both, TBI is the same thing as permanent brain damage, have a significantly higher risk of developing a variety of neurodegenerative diseases, like later in life, like not right when the injury happens, but later. Dr. Sophie described Gary Busey's brain injury as causing his mental filters, which leads him to speak and act impulsively. And impulsivity is affected by TBI. So was it impulsivity that caused him to behave the way he did towards these victims? I think that, yes, that probably was at least a very big part of it. that doesn't excuse it at all. It doesn't excuse it. But I think that his family should really consider, getting him into some long-term care. If they haven't already. I do believe that this is a degenerative brain injury just because of how he's been over the last several decades. If you've paid attention to him, you've seen it. If you are a fan of Gary Busey, you've seen it. And I know he's always been kind of a weird guy, but he's on a decline. And in this video, I'm going to show you right here.
Okay, the next court appearance in this matter will be for April 21st. Okay, Mr. Busey, you are receiving notice via Zoom. It's just like receiving a signed notice for my court. Your court date, sir, is 4/21. What date did I say, sir?
4/21.
What?
4/21. The date. She asked you the date of the next court appearance. 4/20.
Is a hearing.
April 21st.
I don't know. He seems lost to me. Again, I'm not making excuses for him. I never would do that. There's never any good reason to grope someone. There never is. What he did is completely inappropriate if he did actually do this. And he does need to face consequences for it. However, if he doesn't understand what he did, will he even understand the consequences? What can be done legally that will change the situation? What can be done to prevent this from happening again? I mean, what if this does have something to do with the TBI, the permanent brain damage that he got when he had his motorcycle accident in the 80s? It's entirely possible that it's connected to that. The degeneration can take years, even decades. And again, we've all seen his decline over the last several decades. We have seen it. If you've been watching him at all, you know what I'm talking about. He's not mentally healthy, and I'm just saying that it's just a regular person. I'm just a regular person, and I'm not trying to diagnose him. I'm just saying, to me, if I was his daughter, I'd be scared. It seems like he's not mentally healthy. He's not thinking straight. And I think with the permanent brain damage that he suffered from that accident, he is now suffering from some degeneration. And everything I've been reading about TBI and degenerative disease says that it can affect impulse control. Now, a few other things I read about degenerative disease, and I'm not giving him an excuse. I'm just saying I think this stuff needs to be taken into consideration, and it needs to be addressed. And I really do believe his family, he has 3 grown kids, I believe that they need to get him some kind of help. Come on, Jake. Because he is probably going to further degenerate and get even more impulsive. Chronic traumatic and encephalopathy, or CTA, is caused by repeated head injuries, especially concussions, and CTE is a progressive neurodegenerative disease. A lot of football players get it. There's also neuroinflammation on traumatic brain injury. It can trigger persistent inflammation in the brain, which may contribute to the development of further neurodegenerative disease. There's protein apathies. TBI may promote the accumulation of abnormal proteins such as tau and amyloid beta with hallmarks of neurodegenerative diseases. There's axonal injury. TBI can cause damage to brain cells in their connections, which are axons, lead into long-term neurodegeneration. So I think that the victims should absolutely get their justice. Absolutely. If this really happened, yes. But I firmly believe that this took place because of that brain injury. And I am not one to defend men. I really am not. But I think that this is a special circumstance. If he did it, he has to pay for his crime. But again, will he even realize what's happening? It was sexual assault. These women are probably traumatized. He had no right to do that if he did, assuming this is all true. But I really think that this needs to lead to a conversation about neurodegenerative disease. I do. Because people who suffer from this, from this type of brain damage, they do lack impulse control. And we can't put them all in prison to protect the public. So what can we do? There was a man, he was in the hospital for pneumonia or something, I'm not really sure what, but he had neurodegenerative disease, and he came down the elevator at the hospital when I worked on it. He walked over to a planter, took his penis out, and urinated on the plastic plant. That was neurodegenerative. He exposed himself, which is a sex crime, but I don't really know what happened with him. I just know that the nurses came and wrapped him in a blanket and stuff. But yeah, what can we do? I don't know, you guys. I'm just talking. I feel bad for the guy, but I also feel bad for the victims. I really do. I feel bad for all of them. I think he's suffering years after that massive head injury, and he also OD'd on cocaine, I think in 2005. I think it was. I could be wrong on the year. But he did OD on cocaine at some point. That can't be good for his degeneration. He had the tumor in his sinuses, which, no, it isn't the brain, but it is in the head. And a sinus tumor can potentially affect the brain, especially if it grows. I want to point out that on Court TV, one of the people they had speaking on this was like he was a lawyer. He was questioning why the women waited so long to report this. They did not wait. They reported it immediately. So I find this a lot on Court TV. Like, a lot of people who are on the panel and stuff aren't listening, and they just talk out of their ass. Like, no, those women didn't wait. Okay, that changes the whole scenario, I think, if they waited 3 years to report it, but they didn't. They reported it immediately. So I did my research. I can't find any other complaints of any kind of misconduct from Gary of this nature. And he is 80 years old, and he's been acting and has been in Hollywood most of his life. So you'd think it would have happened before now. He was 78 when it happened. Again, I'm not saying I don't believe the women, but I am saying that I believe he is suffering. I believe he's suffering from impulse control issues due to neurodegenerative disease. That's all I'm saying. I don't think this is just a case of some guy with his wiener out of control. I think there's a lot more to it than that. Anyway, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Again, I am not victim blaming. I believe these ladies believe they were victims. I'm not blaming the women for what allegedly happened. I'm not doubting that it happened, but I have to say allegedly. And I'm not trying to give him an out. I'm not trying to give him an excuse. I'm saying I think his loved ones need to take responsibility for him and get him help. And if this is new behavior for him, maybe some more questions need to be asked. Like, why? Why is this happening now? And has he done it since then? So don't yell at me in the comments. Again, I'm not giving him an excuse. I'm just saying we need to further examine this particular situation. Not to give anyone else ammunition. Oh, I've got a brain injury too. I can grab ass. I'm not doing that. But thank you so much for visiting with me and listening to me. And I will talk to everyone later. And bye-bye.